Good evening. I'm Mark Diano.
And I'm Desiree Hadley, and welcome to Hold the Line with Mayor Baraka. So this is Ep.7. We took a brief break because of the state of the city, which you did a great job on that. Great
Thank you.
reviews. So you're doing great work here in Newark.
Thank
And today we're talking about the election that's coming up soon. And also we're going to talk about the new restrictions here in Newark surrounding the uptick in COVID cases.
Right,
Or COVID positive cases.
right.
So let's start, Mayor, with you.
Yeah.
There's this, general paralytic weariness in the country, not only just over COVID, but even it seems with the election, people are there's this malaise that has set in.
Yeah.
How do you maintain not falling into that same kind of fatigue? And what is your leadership strategy, knowing that people are, they're just tired of it all?
Well, I don't have and I've said this all the time, I don't have the luxury of pessimism and or the time to be tired. You ask for these things, you get it. A lot of people want the position, they just don't want the job. And, so this is a part of it. And this is what you ask for, so you have to rise to the moment. And there's a bunch of people counting on you and expecting you to do very specific things. And so I'm trying to do that. And I honestly believe we're going to win, and I always have that mentality that we're going to win, which keeps me in the game, People don't fight losing battles, I always think I'm going to win, so I have to stay in it.
Your leadership through COVID from the very beginning has been very aggressive, and you've had, a lot of people, a lot of collaboration in your administration and out. Are you finding it harder to motivate those people now that we're hitting that second wave?
Sure. Everybody's tired. I mean, people are human beings. They get worn down. They get, fatigued. They mentally, emotionally fatigued. You start juggling a lot of balls, and one of them is bound to drop. You get frustrated. You say and do things that you shouldn't say and do. And so you need somebody there to constantly push you and motivate you, like the coach. You get in the fourth quarter, it gets rough. You're down by 5. You need to go to the bench. You need to call a timeout and say, hey, listen, y'all, we can win this game. And that's what you need. You need a coach that's able to tell you that. We can win. These are the things we have to do. Stay focused on this. Keep playing defense, Look for the man down low. You have to. That's why the importance to have somebody to guide you through this. And, it is harder now for everybody. It's harder now for everybody. I mean, even the restrictions, these stores and everybody else, they're worn down. They're upset. And I remind people, look, you made it with the whole business closed for 4 or 5 months. You didn't do anything. You make no money. Now we're just shutting it down for a few hours for 2 weeks. And it feels worse to you than months of being shut down, when actually is like a fraction of what we asked you to do in the beginning, and which means you have the capacity and the ability to get it done. You just need the motivation to do it.
I think it's like coming back from a 21-point, you're behind by 21 points. You come back and tie the game. They come right back down and kick a field goal.
That's right.
You sort of.
That's right.
Takes the air out of the balloon.
Takes the air out of you, the win, and you get dejected, and you need somebody to rally the troops. And that's what I have to do. I have to rally the people and say, look, we can get through this. There's one more quarter. Like, let's just knock this out and continue to do what we've been doing. And don't forget how we got the lead in the first place, right? Let's stay at it.
So with you're saying that people are tired. With these people who feel like, even though the data does show that it does work, right? The social distancing worked, limiting the amount of time people are in these close quarters together in stores or businesses. What do you say to those people who feel like it doesn't work? They're just tired, like, to leave it alone. Like, they just don't want to be bothered with it.
You can have your own opinion, you just can't, have your own facts. So
right.
At the end of the day, we went from 300 cases a day to like 10, 8, 68% to 0.6% right. infection rate. It's just clear that it works, that keeping people away from each other, limiting the time that we're around one another, and slowing people down. And this is what we're doing now. We're just slowing people down.
Right.
That's what this 2 weeks is for. Slow down. Like, stop doing the things you've been doing. Become more cognizant of what's happening. Wear your mask. And it takes somebody to come and do something drastic. We're like the cold water on a hot summer day.
Right.
Boom, just to get people to slow down, pay attention to what you're doing, because we lost sight. Because we were doing so well, we lost sight of it,
Right.
you know?
Let's talk about another aspect of this, is that, you know, the election's coming and we're focused on that, and then all of a sudden, you know, bang, here comes this another round of COVID, and now the attention shifts to that again,
Yeah.
keeping people safe. Your job, right, is to say, get out and vote and stay safe at the same time. So how do you plan to inspire people to continue to get out and vote and, you know, make sure that the election doesn't, you know, isn't a Bill Buckner,
Yeah.
doesn't go through their legs?
We just have to stay consistent with the message we've been pushing. When I'm on the live, I talk about COVID and the election, right? I know it's hard because people are so focused on that, and especially if you've lost people. If you've lost somebody, then and that's what people don't understand. If you lost someone, then it becomes more imminent to you, right? And the fear is a little more unsettling, right, to you than other folks. So when you say that and you start talking about elections, it's almost feel like you're downplaying their situation. So you have to say it in such a way and provide a correlation between that and getting past this, through this, you know, creating a new day where we don't have to deal with a country that has let COVID ravage us the way it has, that we have some semblance of order and control and process to deal with this stuff. And so you talk about the election in that way and making sure that we get everything that we need, because if we had everything that we needed, then half of the stuff we have to deal with, we wouldn't have to deal with it. And the election is how we get there. If we had a better commander-in-chief, you know, there's some basic things that I would have done, that anybody with a brain should have done, right? One, you need to make sure that we had testing immediately to everybody, as quickly as possible, that we had testing, that contact tracers were all over the country, tracing all of this stuff, testing, tracing, isolating. That message should have been universal, clear, everything. PPE should have been out to everybody without a shadow of a doubt. Everybody should be getting PPE, all of that. Then in the beginning, you take money because you know you're going to close everybody down. Estimate we're going to close down for a year. We're going to be closed for a year. Make sure businesses and other folks have access to relief, to monies, so they can stay up, because you know you're not going to let them stay open. That way you don't have this fight between the economy and people's health. Feed the businesses, close them down. Make sure that you take care of that and safeguard the elderly and the vulnerable in our community. Those are the things that should have been happening, you know, from the very, very beginning, and they just weren't.
The simplicity of just getting up and saying, wear a mask, wear
That's
a
right.
mask, social distance, just that alone. I mean, as a leader, it must, as a citizen, it was frustrating to me. As a leader, it must have been frustrating to you to just see that not happen, something that basic, that simple.
The problem when you politicize everything is like the larger the COVID cases get, you make it it's your fault, right? So you feel like you did something wrong, and so in order to deflect that, you either act like it's not really serious as it is, or you blame it on some foreign power. Oh, China's done it, you know. Oh, it's not serious. So you just juggle between it's not serious and China, and you really confuse people. When I first saw the numbers in Newark that were the recent ones, that we had more cases than anybody else in the entire county combined, I didn't automatically feel like, oh, we need to cover this up. We need to lie. We need to, we're scared. People are gonna blame me. My first instinct is that, we gotta tell people so they can wear masks.
Right.
My first instinct is like, we gotta put this out. Everybody's gotta hear it so it'll change people's behavior. Because people don't need you really to really dictate to them. What they need is information.
Right.
And once you give them the information, most level-headed people with common sense are gonna do the right thing. They're gonna shut it down. They're gonna get their kids in the house. They're gonna do what they're supposed to do. They're gonna stop going out as often. People are gonna be conscious of that. And most people are gonna do that. Despite all of the noise that you hear, most people are gonna obey the rules and do what they're supposed to do for their own family without being told, without being harassed.
Suppose after the 2-week period, the numbers don't decrease. What can we expect from you as a leader?
Well, obviously, and unfortunately, things may get a little more strict. What we are trying to do is, working with the state, is get our contact tracers and our disease investigators to narrow it down for us.
Right.
Right? And I've been talking to the state and the county and other folks to get them to narrow it down in the sense that we want to know exactly where it is, right? So if we could pinpoint where it is, then we don't have to do these broad-based measures. We could do more kind of scalpel instead of the broad sword. We can identify locations, places, neighborhoods, and really hone in on those places and not do an overall big thing for the entire city.
Right. And I know Dr. Fauci was saying that there will be an end to COVID, but probably not until the end of 2021. If that is the case, how do you expect Norcas to continue to adjust?
It's going to be rough, you know? And I think what Dr. Fauci is saying is even with a vaccine, that it's not going to go away completely, right? I think that we'll be able to manage it. Like now, the morbidity rate, the death rate is low.
Right.
It's low because younger people are getting it and because the doctors are smarter about what this is. They have more tools and resources to deal with it, so they're able to handle it, right? When it first hit us, the most vulnerable got hit first, got sucked into it because we didn't have any protections for them.
Right.
And so they began to die, right? And we were spreading it and we were giving it to them in close quarters. And that possibly can happen again because we live in close quarters, but people are more protected, more conscientious. Doctors have more medicine, and those things are helping us. So even with a vaccine, it'll stop it from spreading at the rate that it's spreading, and it'll stop people from dying at the rate that they're dying.
Right.
So the vaccine will be helpful.
Right.
I think one of the problems that, you know, I've kind of seen, you know, working for you, trying to get the word out, is that you don't want to talk about the successes too much because that lessens the,
right.
the message. So, for instance, our homeless population has a 2.3% infection rate, which is astounding, which is lower when they got it, it was lower than the national average. 20% of the deaths in Newark, total deaths in Newark, come from our private nursing homes. They're
Right.
not Newark residents living on the streets,
Right.
living in our housing. But you're not able to say those things because, first of all, it minimizes those deaths, but it also takes the foot off the gas for the public a little bit.
Yeah,
That must be frustrating.
Yeah, you just and so you just have to realize what's most important. Like, what are your objectives? What are you trying to get across here? What are you trying to get to happen? And you're trying to get people to change their behavior for the most part, and that's hard to do. It's hard for people to change their behavior on their own, right? So you're trying to get changed behavior, and the thing that changes behavior the most is education. When people learn, they change their behavior, right? They educate. That's the reason why school is important. People go to school because it changes behavior. The more information, the more knowledge you get, the more apt you are to change your behavior. That changes your circumstances. And so our job is to educate as much as the public as we can about what's going on so they can change their behavior, right? And beating people is not going to change their behavior. Forcing them is not going to change their behavior. We have to educate them. So it's not enough for us just to close things down. We also have to send Roundtree and a team down with flyers
Right.
so they can inundate the community with the information. That way, even if you open the store, most people ain't going to go, right? So you have to fight at both sides. So most conscious people are going to say, if they see a crowd of people, I'm not going in there because I have information and I'm changing my behavior.
Right. That's all the time we have for today.
Well,
One last
question, yes or no answer.
End with the
Mayor.
election.
Have you voted yet?
Right.
I have.
Okay.
And why is this election so important? I mean, every election is important. Why is this one very important?
Look at the state the world is in now. Look at us. I mean, if you don't see something needs to be done, then I don't know where you at and your eyes are not open. I voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I rarely say who I voted for, but it's important. Right now, I voted for Biden Harris, and I will vote for them every day, again and again on Sunday. In this situation, it's important for us to understand that we need everybody to get out to vote now.
Okay, Mayor, thank you very much.
Yep. No problem.